So to attach it, exactly the same as any other snap-on feet. Find your lever, it's usually at the back, click it, your other foot will click right off. Slide that one out the way, bring this one right underneath it, hold it in place, and you've just lowered down until you feel a click. And then just make sure that your thread goes right through into the gap. So to start off, what you're going to want to do is to fold a little bit of your hem manually to about the same width as here. So if I do one fold here, and then I'm going to fold over like that, I'm just finger pressing along, and then I'm going to pop it underneath the foot, like so. Make sure that you've got the rest of your fabric pulled around so that it's not going to pull down and pull everything out of alignment. I then set my needle into a left hand position because then I can sew really close along the edge. Now you have a screw here, you can undo that, move this out to the side, move it back in, change your alignment to fit exactly where you want your hem to be running. So it may well be that you want to pull it over here and use a central position, or you may well want to keep it over here so that it's more central under the feed dogs, but you got your needle into a left hand position. Then lower your needle down, obviously checking your positioning, and then just sew just a few little stitches. So we're just going to go forwards a little and then backwards a little. And then what you're going to do is to make sure that your needle is facing downwards, lift this up, and then bring your fabric to the front. Then you're going to hook your fabric in and around this little bit here. So make sure the bit that you start with isn't on a seam. It takes a moment of wriggling, and then you'll see that that comes through nicely. Just make sure that you haven't got any big creases anywhere. So just make sure that you've done a bit of a wriggle, because that's what will get you a nice clean start. Then lower your presser foot down, and then you're good to sew. So you can see that I'm just holding this slightly folded just to help guide it through, but it doesn't have to be accurate. And once I come across to a French seam I've done here, you can see it's a little bit tougher, it's a little bit more tricky to go through. If you find that it doesn't want to go through at all, then that's not a problem. Or just lower your needle and then slide it back out again, making sure that you've got your presser foot lifted back up. So pull it out from around here. So once you've slid it out, just fold it back round again, put it underneath the presser foot, and then you're just sewing away as you were before when you did your first initial stitches. Stop again with the needle down, lift it up, thread back through, and you're good to sew again. And again, just make sure that you've done that little wriggle. You'll find that the wider the wide hem foot that you use, the more space it's got for thicker fabrics to go through. So you won't need to do this as much if you're going to use a wider hem at the bottom. But because this is just for a toddler sized skirt, I don't want to make it look too heavy. Now if you spot it starts to slip out, don't worry. It's not the end of the world, it just means that you hadn't jiggled it quite right, or maybe you weren't feeding through quite enough fabric to start with. It's always better to feed through a little bit too much than not enough, because it will just move out the way any fabric that you don't need. So if you get into that situation, just stop, lift up your presser foot, push it through from here. Come back down again, and you can see that I've come straight back on and all isn't lost. So I'm coming up to my seam again. I know that it doesn't fit through very easily, so this time I'm just going to stop just before, make sure that my needle's right down, pull it out, curl it over. Bring my presser foot back down. I've stitched right over that, so I'm ready to feed it back through again. And you can see if you try and move your fabric at the same time, it will wriggle out. Okay, and we're ready to sew again. So you can see we're getting towards the end here. So what we want to do is to start near it, but not actually right up against it, or you get your foot stuck in between. You'll have to unpick it out. So we're just going to sew up to about here, and again, needle down, slide it back out, and bring it underneath the foot, bring it in line, and then meet up to join your other piece. And it's as simple as that. So you can see here we've ended up with a lovely neat hem that's also looking nice and neat from the other side.